Most buy-to-let deals look good at first glance. Let's take a £240,000 property renting for £1,250 per month. On paper, that leaves around £450 after the mortgage is paid. This sounds like a solid deal. But once you include real costs, voids, and changing conditions, that number can change quite quickly. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how to analyse that deal step by step so you can see what actually matters before you commit. Before looking at numbers, it helps to ask a better question. Most people ask, does this deal work? But a more useful question is, does this deal still work if things do not go perfectly? Because in reality, they rarely do. Analysing a deal properly is less about proving it works and more about understanding how it behaves under pressure. The first step is understanding how much cash you actually need to get started. On a £240,000 property, a 25% deposit is £60,000. But that's only the starting point. You also need stamp duty, legal costs, mortgage fees, and often some money to prepare the property before tenants move in. In practice, that £60,000 can quickly become £70,000 or even £75,000. And this matters because if you use all available cash just to complete the purchase, you leave yourself with very little buffer if something happens early on. A good deal should feel comfortable after completion, not just achievable at the point of purchase. Next, we look at the mortgage because this is your largest ongoing cost. On a loan of around £180,000, an interest-only mortgage might cost roughly £800 per month. This number is important because it doesn't go away. Even if the property is empty, the mortgage still needs to be paid. So this becomes your baseline, the minimum cost the property must cover. Everything else will sit on top of this. Now we calculate the headline figure. £1,250 rent minus £800 mortgage leaves £450 per month. This is the number that attracts most people to the deal. And on its own, it looks reasonable. But this number doesn't yet reflect how the property actually performs in real life. It's simply the starting point for deeper analysis. Now we need to include maintenance, which is one of the most underestimated costs in buy-to-let. Properties do not stay static, they wear out over time. Even if nothing major happens, there are always smaller repairs, redecorations, and general upkeep. And then, periodically, you'll face larger costs like replacing a boiler or refurbishing a kitchen. A reasonable assumption might be £100 to £150 per month, averaged across the year. That may not feel significant month to month, but over a year, that is £1,200 to £1,800. The key point is that maintenance does not arrive evenly, but financially, you need to treat it as if it does. Now, we need to consider void periods, the times when the property is not generating rent. Many first-time landlords assume continuous occupancy, but that's rarely the reality over time. Even one empty month per year reduces your annual income by over 8%. 2 months reduces it by more than 16%. And because your mortgage continues during that time, the financial impact is magnified. This is why experienced landlords always include a void allowance in their calculations. Once you include maintenance, insurance, and a realistic void allowance, that £450 monthly margin might reduce to around £250 to £300. That's a very different number, and it's much closer to what you actually experience as a landlord. This is the number you should base decisions on, not the headline figure. Now we stress test the deal. Imagine mortgage rates increase slightly, even by 1%. On a £180,000 loan, that can increase your annual costs by a meaningful amount. Now combine that with a longer than expected void period. Suddenly, that £250 monthly surplus can disappear. And this is the key insight. A deal that only works in perfect conditions often feels uncomfortable in real conditions. Strong, stable deals are the ones that can absorb small shocks without becoming stressful. Let's adjust the deal slightly. If you increase the deposit, the mortgage might drop from £800 to £750 per month. The extra £100 margin each month may not seem significant at first, but over a year, that's £1,200 of additional breathing space. And over time, that buffer makes the deal much more resilient. Small improvements in structure often matter more than chasing the higher rent. Now, zoom out and look at the deal over 10 years. A property generating £300 per month produces around £36,000 before tax. That may not feel dramatic on a monthly basis, but over time, it builds into something meaningful. The key is consistency, not volatility. Sustainable returns tend to outperform optimistic projections that do not hold up. Tax is another important layer. The profit you calculate before tax is not the same as what you actually keep. Depending on your personal situation or ownership structure, the final amount may be lower. This is why serious analysis always includes an after-tax view. Ignoring tax can make a deal appear stronger than it really is. The most common mistakes are actually quite simple. Focusing only on rent and mortgage, ignoring void periods, underestimating maintenance, and assuming current conditions will remain unchanged. These aren't dramatic errors, but over time they will compound. A simple framework helps bring everything together. Ask yourself, does the deal still work if something goes wrong? Are the numbers realistic rather than optimistic? And does it feel comfortable, not stretched? If the answer is yes, you are likely looking at a more sustainable deal. A good buy-to-let deal isn't defined by the rent alone. It's defined by how the numbers behave under pressure. The strongest deals are not the ones that look best on paper, but the ones that remain stable in real life. Taking the time to analyse a deal properly at the start can save a lot of pressure later. It doesn't need to be complicated, just realistic. And that's what leads to better decisions over time. This is The Practical Landlord.